Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in. Today's guest is a good friend of mine by the name of Zach Sarver. Zach is a decorated veteran of the United States Army who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. He is currently serving as the Special Operations Response Team Commander for the entire state of Illinois. Zach has been through what most of the Army's, what I like to call the cool schools: Airborne, Ranger, Air Assault, Mountain Warfare, etc. Zach is a friend of mine. He's a neighbor, and he has some very unique wartime experiences. So please enjoy episode number 2 with Zach Sarver. Thank you, and God bless. So September 11th happens, and you're in the guard unit, and you felt like you knew you were going to go.
Yep. Yeah, other units, we knew the guard units, we knew the combat guard units were getting deployed. It was not unusual for a support unit or combat service support unit to get deployed, but we were seeing combat units being deployed. And we got orders in, I think, January of 2002 to Germany. We thought, we're going to go there, train up, maybe go to Graf or Hohenfeld or something like that, and they're going to need B code 2-130 to save the world over in Afghanistan.
Sure,
and,
of course.
That didn't happen. We stayed in Germany. We were doing force protection, gate guard. Force protection, that's a fancy word for garden gates, and that's what we did. It was a blast. I got paid decent money to drink some good German beer, eat some schnitzel, and travel, rent cars, go to Liechtenstein and Switzerland and France. And at one point in time, working 9 days on, 3 days off, 3 days on, 9 days off.
Oh, wow.
Pretty good work rest cycle.
Heck yeah.
It was 9-month deployment. So,
right.
Quotes if y'all can't see that.
Right.
Air quotes. And had a blast. Got to know my guys really, really well.
Which we're foreshadowing here. How important was that?
Huge. 2 of the guys that I wound up being, not more than 2, but 2 in particular wound up being very key players in my first deployment to Iraq later on. And it also helped the company out as a whole immensely. We were a very tight-knit organization with a lot of skill sets. Maybe not the best infantryman in the world, but we had a lot of things to bring to the table that wound up paying dividends later on our deployment.
So that first one was critical, really.
Yeah, really was.
Yeah. Okay. So you're done with Germany.
Done with Germany, come home, living life, just still working a DOC thing, doing our weekend drills, so on and so forth.
And you were an officer at this point?
Correctional officer at Decatur.
Yep.
In 2004, I tried out for our. I'd been on our facility tactical unit for a little bit, and there's a more specialized unit that's kind of a statewide unit that I tried out as our tactical response team. Think of prison SWAT, if you will, but still stuff not just in the prisons, but stuff outside the prisons as well, with fugitive apprehension and outside law enforcement agency support and different things like that. I tried out for that team and I made that team. That was in 2004. We wound up getting activated again in
your National Guard
unit in late 2004 and got the orders, and in 2005 we deployed
to Iraq.
And
because the invasion happened, was it like October or November of 2004 for Iraq?
2003, wasn't it?
Was it? Okay.
Well,
I don't remember. But
regardless, I should know, but I want to say it's 2003.
Okay. But either way,
I'm probably wrong. But
the wars.
It's. I mean,
it's in
invasion's done. Done. We're kind of right in the meat of soda can IEDs didn't work real well, so let's make them out of big bombs.
Okay.
And it's a very active time in Iraq.
How was your flight? Where did you go? How did you land? Because this is something I asked Dad, and I want your when you first boots on the ground in Iraq, sight, smell. What'd you think?
It's really weird. I mean, number one, I kind of got to, we were an infantry unit, and we thought or hoped that in our first deployment to Germany, we would wound up in combat, and we wound up doing gate guard. So we really kind of thought that we were going to wind up doing the same thing, even though we were told, we trained for, hey, you're replacing an infantry unit that's a battleground, battle space owning unit, and you're going to do infantry full spectrum operations in Iraq. Yeah, right. We're not. And I know we trained for it. We thought that, or that's what we were told, but we deep down inside, I don't think that's what we thought. We fly into Kuwait, spend a couple weeks there, a week there. It's hot, it's miserable. You go out and you do some more range ops. You're shooting and zeroing your equipment and kind of backtracking just a little bit. But in our pre-deployment train up in Fort Stewart, Georgia, the maneuver piece wasn't hard for us. I mean, we were actually pretty decent infantrymen. Like, we kind of knew our basic, skill level 1, skill level 2, skill level 3 tasks were pretty good.
Sure.
I don't say awesome, but we're pretty solid.
You held your own.
Had
right,
decent
yeah.
SOPs and a very tight knit organization. But we were using literally prick 77s. Some of you old guys will remember what that radio was.
They used them in like Vietnam or late 70s at least. We had
PVS 5s.
Oh boy,
we had one Seaguards radio and one set of PVS 7 Bravos.
That's for anybody listening. That is the night vision. PVS 5s is what I originally had in 91, 90, or 92 when I got to Fort Lewis. And then when I was in the 509th, we had the 7s, which was an upgrade in night vision capability. Yes. But by 2005, it's outdated.
We had 7s. Later on in my Afghan deployment was 14s. But we had 7s. We had PEC 2s, which IR designator and laser on. I mean,
okay,
like we went from an M16A2, which is just a rifle, to your rifle that had different accessories on it that took. I mean, when you're changing your batteries out, you're changing like 6 batteries. You got a flashlight that takes batteries. You got a PEC 2 that takes batteries. You got an optic that takes batteries. And now your 7-pound rifle is a 11-pound rifle. Radio systems that, we had ICOMs. We had different SINGARs. In Afghanistan, we had...
So everything that you had trained on up to that point has been replaced, so it's all foreign to you.
It was a technology challenge. Okay. A huge technology challenge. That was our biggest thing. It's a lot of this equipment we hadn't seen before. Blue Force tracker in our Humvees. What the heck is that?
And at this point, what rank are you?
I was an E6.
Okay, so you're a squad leader. I'm going to say,
yes.
You're a squad leader. So you're in charge of a squad of men, and so you're learning.
Yep,
they're learning.
Yep, and so, but I felt like we got pretty good over at our jobs. And we're flying in a C-130 from Kuwait to Baghdad.
Okay.
And I had no idea what to expect. I mean, nobody really does until you've been there. You don't know if you're going to get off the plane and it's dangerous, it's not dangerous, or you have no idea what to expect. And I mean, we get off the plane, it's like, well, it looks kind of like an airport. That's because it was. It's BIOP, Baghdad International Airport. Well, this is different. I mean, people, they literally came up and picked us up. We rode in a bus that looked a lot like our CFS buses that drive around here. That's how I rode from BIOP to Camp Liberty.
Not much different than a school bus.
No. And I didn't know it. I had no clue at the time. But I mean, we were in a completely secure area that probably in a city, if you will, bigger than Effingham. I mean, it's huge base. It's huge. And we
How long was that bus ride from the airport to where you're going?
Minutes,
Okay,
15 minutes,
right
10
down
minutes.
the road.
Yeah. But you talk about flying in. I didn't know what it was at the time, but a combat landing where you just come up above the airfield and circle around. And later on, I'll tell you why that's important. We did a really cool thing later on in this deployment that kind of matters here. But you literally come above the airfield. At what altitude, I have no idea, but just circle down. I mean, you're spinning. You're literally coming down from
like a tornado movement, kind of.
And that C-130 pilot basically parks that bad boy on a dime, and there you are. You're in Baghdad International Airport. We got to our barracks, and I was very well pleased with our sleeping arrangements. For those of you deployed in that era in the Camp Liberty and Victory area, we called them cans, but it's like a mini trailer. You had a roommate and electricity and air conditioning and heat, and there's nothing hard about it. Got our cans, and I went, my roommate, Staff Sergeant Randy Clapham, and we bedded down and woke up next morning, and they told us, don't really have anything to do till whatever time, so I had the whole morning free. So we figured out where the PX was. So here we are in a combat zone, but going to the PX.
Which is a post exchange, which is a store.
It's a store. Yeah, we're going to Walmart. We're going to Army Walmart.
Yeah, there you go.
And
Walmart.
I had no idea the Army Walmart existed. I mean, I just didn't understand how developed and built up this combat zone was for our military industrial complex. I mean, it's weird. It was very weird to me.
Sure.
I felt very not threatened. Very like, this is not war. That changed in a matter of hours. I decide I need me a broom, a trash can, stuff just to
sweep up
and take care of things. So
sure.
I'm going to the PX, which is a decent walk, half mile, 3/4 of a mile.
Okay.
I'm bebopping along there. Some of my guys are already gone. I see them coming, going. And the direction we're walking, there's a huge hill with all kinds of antennas and different things on it. And there's some of you guys that were deployed over there. You'll remember that there's a blimp up in the air, not maybe more than one if I remember correctly, but they're like eyes in the sky. They have some pretty sophisticated, camera systems on them.
Sure.
And I'm looking at that stuff, thinking, "Wow, that's pretty cool." Didn't even know what it was at the time, but it just a blimp. And walking, hear a noise, and see impacts on the side of that hill, and see dust flying from the direction that I'm walking. It was rockets, incoming rockets. It probably landed from where I was at that point, 600, 800 meters away. It was a long ways away, but it was the closest, I promise you, anybody ever shot a rocket to me at that point in time in my life. It took me a minute to realize that that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people just shot rockets onto
They're trying to kill us.
I didn't know rockets, mortars, artillery. I had no clue.
Right.
People are trying to kill people here. I kept walking to the PX. I kept walking that direction for seconds, and I'm like, wait.
You don't even know what the protocol is.
No, I have no clue. Wait a minute. No, that's not the right thing. So I turned around and started running back to our company headquarters, and I went in and they're scurrying around. I could tell something's wrong. And they said, grab a Humvee and go to the PX. Okay.
They told this to you.
To me.
Okay.
To me, because I come in there, hey, something just, they just got rocked. And
at this point, again, you don't know if this is normal, if this happens every night. You have no clue what's happening.
No, I don't. I just know that people just shot rockets or shot something onto the camp.
Right.
And not camp, this freaking big city is what it was.
Right.
That landed in, I didn't know where it landed. It just landed the direction I was walking. They said, well, it landed in the PX. I seen some land on the hillside right behind where the PX would be. But I was going to the PX. It landed in the PX. I have pictures this day of the craters where it landed. It just so happened to wound 3 people in our company that was doing the same exact, not our company, excuse me, our battalion, nobody in our company, the same exact thing I was doing, going to get stuff for their barracks. And two of those people wound up not coming home, by not perishing. I mean, they wound up launch stool and significant injuries and didn't stay, didn't come back and went home.
Right.
But I transported one of them. He's one of our medics, or not one of our medics, one of our mechanics in our battalion. I transported him from where they set up a kind of a casualty collection area to a it wasn't a surgical shock and trauma center, but another level, like an aid station, and where he later on went on to higher levels of care. So I was in Baghdad for less than 8 hours before I was transporting a wounded person.
Somebody in your battalion.
Somebody in my battalion.
Your first casualty.
Absolutely.
Within 8 hours.
Within 8 hours. Never set foot outside of camp. Never been on a combat patrol in my life. Never aimed my gun at anybody in my life. And I already got a guy that's bleeding with shrapnel in his guts at the PX. It's kind of weird. This is a weird. I realized right then it's a weird war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you come back from that. I'm guessing that I mean, certainly for you and everybody around, it's like, okay, we're in it now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. This is real. I still later, when they opened that PX back up several hours later, went and got my trash can and stuff. I mean, because we're weird. People are like, well, okay,
normalcy bias.
I still need a trash can,
right?
And so we met up with our counterpart, and that's when I realized, like, we're actually going to do what they said we're going to do. We were replacing is either 214 or 215 infantry. Forgive me for messing that up, but out of the 10th Mountain Division. We were replacing an infantry battalion out of the.
My dad was 214 in Vietnam.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was a 25th back then.
Right.
But yeah, but irregardless, you're replacing an active duty 10th Mountain. I mean, it's. Yep. So now we are going to be doing.
We're going to do this, and so they called it RIPTOA, Relief in Place Transfer of Authority. That's where kind of the process of you taking over for an outgoing unit. Your leadership would ride with their patrol for a while, and then your patrol would start. Your people would start to go out with their leadership, going with you and mentoring you, and then they're out, and then you got it all by yourself.
Now, what area are you in?
This is western Baghdad.
So you're in the western part of Baghdad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is Ramadi on down the road?
West of that.
And then Fallujah is past that?
Yeah, but Ramadi and Fallujah are all both west of Baghdad, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
But you're heading out, you're kind of going out that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, just to the north of our sector, we were just west of Biop and south of the Abu Ghraib prison.
Okay.
And so we're riding along with these guys, and kudos to them. They were very very nice to us. I've seen active duty units not treat guard units very well. They didn't care what we were. They were happy to be going home, and they were eager to share what they had learned. And these guys had taken a beating. They had lost 15 in their battalion in the area that we were taking over.
Yeah.
Then a thing called SIGACs was important, significant acts. So they measure, how everything has a matrix, and their our matrix while we're there is, reducing SIGACs, reducing the amount of ambushes, indirect fire, IEDs, small arms fire attacks, so on and so forth. Each one of those, each occurrence would be a significant act against us. So the primary goal in the area that you're patrolling is to reduce SIGACs in your area. And he did a very good job of that. They had reduced them from an astronomically high level, and I forgot what they told us, how many SIGACs they get in a week or a month or whatever, and it was a lot. These guys get beat up hard, and they reduced it a great deal. But they, like I said, it was 14 or 15 KIA in our battalion.
So hearing that they're training you up at that point, man, we're going to be in it. We know
that we're going to see combat.
Yeah.
We know that we're not just we're not gate guards anymore.
Right.
Fortunately, honestly, we guys were very well trained. We had a lot of law enforcement officers, a lot of prior service guys. At that point in time, you're lacking a lot. You're lacking combat seasoned vets because they just didn't exist at that time.
Sure.
But we're in pretty good shape. But literally in Riptoa, where we are riding with those guys, and remember we parked our Humvees, got them set up. We'd go out in front of us and put spike strips and concertina wire, and set up a kind of a defensive perimeter like at a T intersection, and the gunners would stay on the guns. And they had a system in place that made sense to us of how they protect the trucks while dismounted folks would get out and go do a combat patrol. And whether you're shaking hands, kissing babies, searching houses, searching cars, setting up TCPs, whatever, you know
what's a TCP?
Traffic control point.
Okay.
Like we literally, set up a traffic control point, and we'd use that with, we'd do it sometimes with trucks and concertina wire and spike strips and zigzag them through, and motion them in and get them out and search them and search the car. And you're trying to find bad guys. You're trying to find munitions, sometimes money. I got a really cool picture of me holding $70,000 US. That's a long story, but we won't get into that.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, and that's not me coming back from paycheck day. It's like
right.
I've never held $70,000 of my dollars.
Right.
Yeah. And we get out, we set up. This is like day one with these guys, and we go out on patrol. And I've never been so hot in my life.
Okay. What are the smells? What's the?
It smells like Toby's ass.
Okay.
It's horrible.
It's that bad. How hot is it?
It's hotter than Satan's testicle.
Yeah. Okay. 120 degrees probably. I mean, just stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the shade. It's not uncommon to get an actual air temperature of 110 plus. Like real deal air temperature. In the sun, I mean, you don't know what you're going to see on that. I mean, of course, it's the sun, but the highest, I've got a picture of it. I want to say it's 121 degrees is the highest that I ever took in like a shaded area.
So it's
hot.
It's just
hot.
miserable.
And that may be that may not be terribly accurate, but it's very miserable. And in the Fertile Crescent, it's dry. They talk about it's a dry heat, but it's not a dry heat like Western. Yeah, it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat. It's still 120. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And there is still a certain amount of humidity in the Baghdad area.
Sure.
I mean, it's not like Illinois. I'm not trying to say that, but
right.
So my first sergeant, Glidewell, great dude, former 82nd Airborne guy, Johnny G. Glidewell, good dude. And he decides to come out with us on this patrol. He wanted to go out. And first time I've ever been shot at in my life. We're going down this road and with 8 or 10 dismounts. And all of a sudden from a rooftop, somebody decides to start shooting at us with an AK-47. And I don't know if I know I should have been like on heightened alert. It's my literally first time on combat patrol, but I was just totally unprepared for that. And bang, 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 bang. So stuff kicks off. And when I talk,
now you're in a vehicle or
no,
dismounted?
We're dismounted. We're dismounted.
Okay.
And so we hug a wall, because a lot of there's walls along all these. So we hug a wall. And it literally, they probably shot like 8 rounds. I mean, and a lot of you guys who have deployed over there know that a lot of your small arms contacts are very short lived. There's not very many protracted engagements. I know they happen. It's just not a lot. And so it's just guys popped off a few rounds. He's skipping over the rooftops, and First Sergeant Glidewell and I are on one side of the road, thinking that we're like, we didn't see this guy. We just heard, we just heard it and knew kind of what we thought was where it's coming from.
Right.
Everybody else is on the other side of the road, and they're like, "Get over here!" Like we went to the wrong piece of cover, and it wasn't like we were right and they were wrong.
Right.
We were wrong and they were right.
Right.
And wow, we really messed that up. Failed that test.
You never been shot at before.
Never been, and I don't know what possessed us to go to that. I mean, I think we heard it a different way than they heard it and thought it was coming from
echoing down through buildings.
Yeah,
sure.
But I'm like, okay, day one got shot at, but I remember asking one of the other staff sergeants there, I'm like, how long are you guys out here? Like, we didn't even know. I didn't know how long we went out. I didn't know if we went out and patrolled for days, hours. I don't guess I ever registered that. And then he said, we're usually out 12 to 16 hours. And I thought, well,
that seems like a long patrol.
I don't know that I can do this. Now, it was the total time out. But I thought, we're going to be out there walking around in this miserable heat for 12 to 16 hours. And that's not how our day wound up going.
Right. But you were thinking physically, man, because you're not a young 20, I mean, you're not, old.
I was 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was in good shape. Not like Ranger School Day shape, but I was in good shape.
Right.
But I was miserable. I was completely miserable. It was so hot. But yeah, that was that. They left. We took over, and we took a lot of good things that they taught us. We modified some of those things, and that made it work better for us, and did a great job in the Western Baghdad area of reducing SIGACs more so than they did. We fell under the 3rd Infantry Division at the time. They had a thing called Plays of the Day, and we had more Plays of the Day as our battalion than any other battalion that was there. Credit to, I think a lot of our, like Tim McNaught was my platoon sergeant. He was an Urbana police officer, very smart guy, he's a very good police officer. But I mean, that's what we're doing. I mean, we're trying to find the bad guys, trying to get their hardware, trying to find their caches, trying to develop informants.
How often, let's say in a week, now were you there a year?
Mm-hmm.
You were there for a year deployment. So let's say within a week or two period, how many, I don't want to say, well, I'll say engagements maybe with either being mortared, being shot at, even if it's just, sporadic harassing fire, not necessarily accurate. How often are you guys, getting messed with?
Depends on what matrix you use. And I don't mean to degrade other people, other MOSs or other units, but that was in the whole development of the combat action badge. You're familiar with the combat infantry badge.
Of course.
Okay, and the standards, you have to be engaged by the enemy to receive a combat infantryman's badge, and maybe rightfully so. There was artillery, that's a combat arms unit. Cavalry is combat arms. Armor, combat arms. Engineers, combat service support. MP. And so you have other MOSs that are doing combat operations. They're getting shot at and blown up and whatever else. And I think it was General Shinseki at the time that made a lot of big changes, and not many of them I agree with, but it is what it is. They come up with a combat action badge that basically had the exact same language for who qualified for that badge. You just didn't have to be an infantryman to receive it.
Right.
Cool. I got no problem with that. But if we were on patrol and the front truck got an IED and you're the number 2 truck, well, you don't get a combat infantryman's badge. Period. End of story. I know.
Really?
No. It can hit your truck.
That seems odd to me.
Well, it was it was just, you weren't engaged. You were the truck behind it. They engaged that truck, not your truck. I was fine with that.
Whatever.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, there were non-combat units out there that rockets and mortars were coming in and landing within 500 stinking yards of their can on post on Camp Liberty Victory, and those people are getting combat action badges. I promise you today, sorry, maybe some of the people listen to this, that they had a rocket or mortar land within a half a mile of their stinking hooch, and they got a combat action badge.
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Right. Yeah. But was it, let me ask you this way. Was it frequent to come under small arms fire?
No. And again, every place is different. Not to jump into Afghanistan, but I had a buddy that was on and I would have been on that team, but I was asked to lead a PMT team instead. Again, not trying to fast forward in Afghanistan, but I would have been on. It was a counter narcotics infantry Kandak in Helmand Province. Those guys were in it. They were in it almost every day. They seen a lot of stuff. There are plenty of other people in different areas, and we were in fairly contested areas, but it just depended on the time, the geographic location.
But it wasn't. Was it infrequent? I mean, so small arms
fire for us in Iraq was not very common, and when it did happen, it was very short-lived, and in some cases from a decent distance away. With that being said, our IED threat was.
That was my question next. So, what was your biggest threat? Was it
IEDs?
It was IEDs.
Yeah, we got a lot of mortars and rockets on our camp, or on Camp Liberty. But I mean, literally, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating this. I don't think I am, but I would say it's more than 2 times a week that we would get mortars or rockets that would come somewhere. But I mean, literally, they might be a half a mile away, and oftentimes 200 and 300 meters away. I don't.
That's close enough.
I don't ever remember a mortar or artillery round landing while I'm sleeping or while I'm in my duty day on Camp Liberty that rattled me.
You knew they were landing, but they were far enough away.
Yeah, I don't. Never had one that made me poop my pants. I will tell you the worst. We had a 15-day period. Most of these were on Route Michigan, on just west of Baghdad.
Okay.
And these aren't the ones that we found, because we found a lot before we were calling EOD frequently to come out and deal with an IED threat.
Right.
These are the ones that blew up on our guys. We took 16 as a company. We took 16 IEDs in a 15-day period.
Oh man.
You go out. It's not if you're getting hit. It's who and when.
And this is, you're doing vehicle patrols.
Yes.
And
I took my patrol took one dismounted in a market in Abu Ghraib market. Good to go.
You care to discuss that?
Yeah, yeah. I don't.
Is that the 155 or is
no,
it? No.
That's
something different.
Okay. We're not sure what it was. We were asked to clear the Abu Ghraib market every night. And we tried to vary that up just as much as we could. So we would set up our vehicles, at a distance away in a different place every night. And we would try to come into this market and clear it. And the reason that we were tasked to do that is because just weeks before that, there was an ambush that took place in that market that killed several Iraqi National Police.
Okay.
I forgot if it was the Army or police. But they were ambushed. We responded. We were right down there. Actually, we were in a soccer field right on the back side of it, and it was a poop show. It was a bad deal. So basically, we deduced that the IEDs that initiated that ambush were in place pretty much, probably in front of everybody. A lot of dirty folks around there. So we started clearing the market at night, putting people up in some of the buildings and NOPs and watching this area. And it's a big market, but you can only go in it and clear it different ways so many times. They knew we were.
You try to mix it up to keep them guessing,
right?
But
we're walking along there, and to the left are buildings. To the right is probably, I would say, were bombed out buildings in the initial attack in 2003 that never were rebuilt, but it was just shells of buildings, and it was like the sidewalk that you would walk along on the left side. Again, were storefronts. I don't mean to sound like we're at the mall, but storefronts or market fronts.
Their version of a storefront.
And on the right side of this was this. It was almost like you was in a hollowed out building, and below was a basement. Now I don't think they had basement. It wasn't a basement, but it was a few feet below.
Right.
There was no. Once we started looking around after this happened, there was no crater. And it was a big boom. It rattled us, but there was no definite crater like you'd see on an IED. And at that we'd already been my platoon had already been hit by an IED previously on the road, so we kind of knew what kind of craters that they created. And also I was EHAT level 3 trained. I'll get into that. It's kind of silly, but I'll get into that in a minute. And kind of knew what to look for, so we're trying to do our best post blast analysis. I'm giving some air quotes here,
right,
for those who can't see me. We could find nothing. We think what they did is they actually built up this IED on the other side of this wall, tried to build up to try to get the blast to us. They didn't do a very good job of it. We couldn't find a crater. It wasn't like, it was almost like it was indirect fire to come in as an airburst, but we know that wasn't the case. We never could find exactly where this thing blew up at. It's weird, but I mean, it knocked us on our tails.
How far were you from when it went off? Guessing how far?
Feet. Less than 10 feet.
Good night.
Oh, it was horrible. We all hit the ground.
So did it knock you down?
No,
I guess it just smoked everybody.
There is no way, Josh, that I would have told you that we all walked away from that, 6 guys, without a scratch, outside of maybe a skin on our elbows from hitting the ground, without a scratch. We were all fine. I don't know.
Grace of God.
Yeah. And that's, I got a lot of pictures, and I may have showed you one thing that we did do, and I've not professed this much in our speaking before, and I know we'll talk about a lot about our honoriness and drinking the Bible reading the Bible, not drinking beer, and
right.
Working in a soup kitchen, but. My faith is strong, and I'm a little ornery, but I attribute a lot of our success and protection in that deployment to God.
Amen.
We prayed as a patrol before every patrol. We bowed our heads and would take turns saying a prayer. My platoon sergeant I mentioned before, Tim McNaught, fantastic individual, very, very good, upright man, kind of started that for us, and we kept it up, and I believe it protected us. So I don't know what happened there, but it was an IED of some sort.
And you said it was a big one, and it was close.
Well, I mean, we were unprotected, so I think a hand grenade would have seemed big, but it was obviously way bigger than a hand grenade.
Right.
But,
so it goes off.
It goes off. My words my first words out of my mouth were, "What the F was that?" And then Randy Wright, another staff sergeants in our platoon who was with us, as we're down on the ground, literally, rocks and crap still falling out. An IED, dumbass. I knew what it was.
Well,
I knew what it was when I asked the question. But,
Yeah.
So
Now, you're taking assessments.
Yep.
Yeah.
Check everything out. Like, we need to get back to our trucks, and we need to get back to our trucks without our trucks shooting us up. So we're like, hey, we're coming back to you. And so we're very, very cautious not to hopefully get hit by any secondary IEDs. And later on, we went back and cordoned off that area, secured it, and tried to find, maybe who done it, what it was. That's where I told you we couldn't figure out what it was.
Now, were the locals? Was there? And
it was at night. There's nobody come
okay.
out. Yeah,
Okay.
nobody come out. Nobody to ask any questions. Now, the next day in the market, there's a lot of questions asked, and there's a lot. I can imagine. There's a lot of questions asked.
Yeah.
Man, I'd like to tell some of them stories here, but I just can't.
Yeah, I understand.
And so, yeah, that was.
At what point in your deployment do you remember? Like, is this halfway or towards the end?
Oh no, this is early. This is early on.
Oh, so this is early in your.
This is less than 60 days.
Oh wow.
But I mean, we got blown up a lot. Just my truck alone, I had an IED in front of my truck, more on the truck in front of me. Usually I was running lead truck, but in this particular case, it hit the lead truck. I was not the lead truck that day, and it hit that truck, but still tore up our truck. Then the next time was a dismounted IED that I just explained to you, and then direct IED on my vehicle on Route Utah. It was
your vehicle got hit.
Yeah. That was a bad one, but
you care to get into it, or is that,
I'm not there. I don't mind getting into it at all. I mean, there's all different kinds of people out there. So, well, I can't talk about that, or don't want to talk about that, or I know some people really feel that way, and I don't like talking to people about my combat experiences, not because they upset me, but because I just don't want to bore somebody, or I want to tell a story somebody can't really appreciate it or understand it or whatever else. But if I think somebody's interested, I'm okay with what I did. I sleep pretty good at night. I'll tell you a war story, but I didn't storm the beaches of Normandy either.
But we're recording history. You were there. Now think about if your grandpa or your great grandpa was in the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. Wouldn't you love to sit down and listen to him for a couple hours? Yeah. Okay. So that's
money.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're recording history. So your vehicle takes a direct IED hit.
Yeah, I kind of need to set this up a little bit on how it happened. There was a dump truck, a broken down dump truck on this route is called Utah, and some MPs had went by there several days prior and got blown up because that dump truck it forced them to move over and get close to the side of the road. This was an asphalt road. It was a very nice road. And you have to understand that if we got hit, almost everything we took was a roadside bomb. If you got up on canal berms, if you got up on non-paved roads where they'd actually get something underneath a 1114 Humvee, it was a bad day. You were looking at death or significant casualties. Those 1114s and 1159s was just.
Now, what do you mean 1114 and 1159?
When the IED threat first started emerging in Iraq, they just started welding plates on Humvees, on unarmored Humvees to protect them. And that wasn't enough. The IEDs got, put armor on something, they'll make bigger bombs, and that's what happened. And so the military had whatever contractor, whoever, make an actual armored Humvee. It was the first ones I remember were called 1114s, and they had a lot of armor. Not much on the bottom end of them. They're not gonna. That's why the MRAP come about, a V-shaped hole to take a blast from underneath. We had very little protection from something underneath, but fortunately for us, our stuff was literally on the side of the road. I don't know if this is the truth or not, but I was told from different informants that the reason is not putting them. They'll put them in dirt areas, like on the canal berms or canal roads and things like that, because they're easily repairable, and it doesn't make the local population hate their guts. You blow up their nice asphalt road forever, and they're not liking a bad guy. Makes sense to me.
Sure.
I whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I can only tell you that.
So I would think ease of placement.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, you put it, but there are ways that they could have, side tunneled in. I mean, more of a signature, I'm sure, but yeah, they're going to do it quickly. Pull up in a car, nobody's watching, dig a hole, and our stuff was on the side. Like I said, that MP unit, they got hit. And so we needed to move that dump truck. It's a big, like a tandem truck. We can't move it. We have no way to move it. So we got a hold of an armor unit and asked if they'd get their 88. An 88, that's armored, that's a tow vehicle for tanks. Yeah. And we wanted them.
Big. They're big, they're strong, they can lift heavy or move. Yeah, hook up and yeah.
And we talked to them for a few days, and they still never got to it. So finally, we asked our aviation attack aviation unit, Viper. That was their call sign. If Viper would help us out and try to, it was fairly in a rural area, and blow this thing up. So they come by with their Apache.
So instead of moving it, just kill it.
They come in there with their Apaches and shot some HE at it, and it was really cool to watch from afar. We had a good time, but honestly, it didn't do much to it. So we thought, you know what? We're going to try at least get this thing shoved off the road. So we had this harebrained idea. And I know this does not sound bright right now to some of you folks that kind of know about things, but I had it in my head I was going to put a couple thermite grenades on top of the engine block, try to melt it down and use our trucks and our brush guards and push this thing off to the side. My company commander is out with us that day. Called him Shark. And he Kempworth was his name, and said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" "Oh, I don't know. Might work, We're going to try it. But before we try that, we have to clear the area. So I'm lead truck. We're driving through. We get about 100 yards out. Get the binos out. Look to the canal berm. Look at the houses left and right. Had our Viper unit.
What are you looking for? Spotters?
Yep. Looking for
anything that don't look...
Yeah, you're looking for disturbed dirt. You're looking for wires. You're looking for antennas. You're looking for. We're starting to run into some pressure plate stuff. They use bicycle tires in. Look for anybody on a canal berm. Anybody overwatch in your second story of all your buildings. Just looking for any. We had our Apache unit fly over. Everything's good to go. Got about 50 meters. Been out a while. We got 50 meters. So we're looking. Have my gunner up there checking out the binos. We get a little closer, and it's like, okay, Frankie Salgado is my gunner. I said, "Get down, Frankie. We're going to go ahead and push through here and check out the far side." Left side is a truck.
Okay.
The right side is the crater from the last IED where the MPs got hit.
Okay.
And I remember looking down in there, and that boom.
Right when you were looking into it, it went.
Yep. Wound up being 3 South African 155s.
So anybody listening, a 155 is a 155 millimeter howitzer. As a forward observer, I've called those in. That is a big explosion.
Have a net explosive weight of probably 20 plus pounds per round. Well, that's that's how much actual explosive is in it. So
it's a big deal.
It's a big bang.
And then you got 3 of them, and you're right basically on top of it, just off to the left a little bit.
I literally, I could have touched a hole with 2 yardsticks.
Okay.
I didn't go unconscious. Told my driver, push through it. We got through it. Because you're worried about, initiation of an ambush or something like that. So, we typically train just to try to push through the kill zone, if you will. You didn't know what was going to happen after they initiate the ID.
Sure.
We made it probably 30, 40 yards, and, the vehicle was toast. I was very frustrated. Remember, I talked about the 16 IEDs in a 15-day period, and this is towards the end of that, and we were tired of...
You were getting hit a lot.
Yeah, we're getting hit a lot. I jumped out, got on my ICOM, told my dismounted guys, follow me. Ran about 40 yards into a canal, jumped into the canal, full battle rattle, and sank. But I knew where that trigger man was. I just in my head, he's on the other side of that canal berm, and I just so badly wanted to kill that guy. And I jump in that canal berm, and I am underwater. I got my feet stuck in about 2 inches, 2 feet of mud, and my head is underwater, and I've got all kinds of kit on. I'm not coming up. And it's kind of like, hello, darkness, my old son.
Yeah.
I'm like all this, and this is how I go. I die in a shit creek in western Baghdad, drowning. I stuck my hand up. I'm trying to claw out of there. Andy Warner, who's now a police lieutenant in Effingham, Illinois, grabs my hand and drags me out of that canal. And as soon as I got out, I was a little gung-ho back then. I'm shedding my kit. I got my LBV, I believe was... which is load bearing. We had LBV. Yeah, it wasn't even LBV. What the hell? Not a... Oh, heck, we've been through so many. But it was the plates had the freaking side sappies and all that crap. So, but I'm shedding this thing because I'm going to swim that thing and get across there. And Shark, Kempworth, Eric Kempworth, our company commander, he said, nope. He said, we think we got somebody on the other side of the road that's observing us from the top of a building. My vehicle's down. I run over there, and we had our battalion surgeon had come out with the company commander that day. He was an old Vietnam vet with an SF tab. Cool. He's a cool dude.
Boy, I bet he's got some stories.
He walked around. He carried his he didn't have an M4 like we got issued the first time we all had M4s. We had A2s prior to this deployment, but he walked around with an M16A2, carried it by the what you're not supposed to call it, the carrying handle. The carrying handle.
Yeah.
The dude was super cool.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. And so he's tending to my gunner who's wounded. Frankie Salgado got some shrapnel in his arm in that blast. The rest of us were okay. And so commander's on the ground. I said, can we borrow your Humvee? And Craig Funneman was the gunner. So I jumped in his seat, and us and another vehicle ran over to that house where they thought they seen somebody up on the balcony. Well, as soon as we get over there, a couple other guys who was securing the immediate perimeter there said, no, we've got a hard wire. They had found looked like tow missile wire, like really fine copper wire. And so, and they said it's going across the canal berm. Oh, it was a mess.
You knew it.
I knew it. I was so mad. So you got to understand, I was. It had already been probably 5 minutes since the IED, but I was still so eager to kill whoever did this to. I was just so frustrated and so mad.
Sure.
That I wasn't. I was just mad. I wasn't thinking clearly. We went. Tactically unsound, looked goofy. I promise you it didn't look pretty at all. So we run out to this house, and they call us in the meantime and say, no, we think it's this. Run right back across, our area where we had other gun trucks that are, herringboned out, in a secure position, right past them, park where in a canal berm. I get out again, start shedding my stuff, and over the ICOM Shark, he said, hey, he said, take my truck, go down about an eighth of a mile, you can cross on this road and then come back on the other side of canal berm. I'm like, okay. And we get there, and there's people that are cutting cane or something. They had it piled up. Like, they're literally still harvesting this stuff. And there's some what we call MAMs, military-age males. I got to back up.
So now how far away? I mean, they heard everything going off.
From the blast?
Yeah.
They were 75 yards from the blast. They were just covered by this great big, huge 20-foot berm, canal berm.
And they just happened to be there harvesting cane. And
we trace this wire, and it's going across. It's staked in like you would do a good claymore mine, how you make sure you're,
sure.
And they did a fine job, and we found their fighting position.
Their clicker.
We find their clicker. He had smoked 72,000 cigarettes sitting there waiting for us to come by. And when I jumped out of the truck running after this son of a gun, he jumps out. He leaves his flip-flops there. So you got the clicker of 72,000 cigarette butts and his flip-flops. And then we start talking to the males there, and they don't know anything.
Of course not.
Of course not. Right. So they get detained, the males. They said they didn't hear anything. It's 75 yards. I mean, they got dirt on them from this thing.
Well, I'm thinking, I'm trying to remember what the kill radius of a 155 millimeter. Now, I know it's down in a crater and there's building all,
right.
But I mean, 75 yards, they're bad guys. They know everything that's going on.
I mean, danger close on those was 1,000 yards, wasn't it?
I forget. I want to say
600
like
meters.
600 meters. It's
right,
been a long time, but yeah.
But I mean, not that was going to hurt you, but I mean,
it's
a significant casualty radius, maybe even a casualty radius of like 100 meters.
Right.
And they didn't know anything. So needless to say, we had extensive conversation with those guys.
I bet.
Truck is banged up. And my gunner is banged up. Kind of funny. He was really happy. He said something about, I think I get free license plates for the rest of my life, don't I?
You got to look at the bright side, the middle of. He's probably
And he got hit. He got some stitches out of the deal. Not something he wants to relive, but
sure.
Yeah. And it, it took a couple more after that. That was the worst, but.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Being that close to that big of an explosion, I know it rattles you. Can you describe what I mean? Because I can't imagine what it's like to be that close. Number one, not to get hit by shrapnel personally. That's amazing in and of itself. But as far as your hearing, your vision, we watch Saving Private Ryan, and they're storming the beaches, and boom, a big one goes off, and then their hearing's gone, and they're kind of looking around like what.
This is going to sound weird, but I don't know how in the world in Call of Duty and your other better quality games out there that they create that effect from the ringing and the bright flash and you basically have no picture for a minute. But whoever guided the game designers into creating that effect in the game did a really good job.
Really? Yeah,
they sure did. There's a smell. All itself, and that's the explosive, and different munitions have different explosives, but there's a smell all itself. You're pretty much I mean, in a lot of cases, I mean, some guys are injured severely or go unconscious, and I didn't go unconscious, but I thought your bell is like rung. I mean, it's an immense amount of blast overpressure on your whole body, your brain. My mirror, and I probably showed you pictures. If I haven't, I will at some point in time. My mirror, my rear view mirror on the side of my Humvee was completely disintegrated, and I'm not a pressure kind of guy. But it created some sort of vacuum inside of the Humvee itself, or maybe it's just force from outside. But that mirror was disintegrated, and all inside of my Humvee, in my seat and the floorboard, everywhere was shards, and I'm talking tiny, like bigger than a grain of sand, but like super small shards of that glass. Fast forward weeks after that, and I get these pimples on my face, and after I get kind of fester up enough, and I go pick these pimples, and I get shards of that glass. I mean, super small, like almost like a filing. If you grind metal, if any metal workers out there,
right?
But it was stuck in my face, and eventually it quit doing it. But
boy,
yeah, it's a big boom. If I deployed to Iraq with the same vest, helmet, and Humvee that I had in a Humvee Scout platoon in 1993 in Fort Polk, Louisiana, I'd be dead multiple times over. That's kind of a testament to our armor, technology, and things of that nature. But I mean, it's just stuff that would have riddled those things.
Right.
But
yeah. Want to take a break?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so the IED was the bigger threat versus small arms fire or indirect fire. How would you summarize the overall threat of IEDs?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because just like anything, you have a threat, you try to develop protections against that threat, and then the enemy's going to try to find a way to get around your protections. And then they're going to develop a different way to attack you, and then you're going to develop a different countermeasure, if you will. And I saw in literally a year's time go from hardwired IEDs to controlled by like push-to-talk radios. Then the Army is big in introducing different types of electronic countermeasures, like we call them Warlocks, Warlock Green, Red Green combo, Warlock Ice, all these different things that would block radio frequencies that were used by the insurgents to detonate IEDs. Some of them worked well, some of them didn't. Some of them really messed your radios, some of them didn't. It was, anytime you're jamming frequencies, you might jam some of yours. All the way into got pretty effective at jamming different types of IEDs being detonated by radio frequencies. To circle back around, we had when I left, we were trying to defeat just watching out for pressure plate IEDs. They'd use bicycle tubes and foam, drive over them on an asphalt road, compress two wires together, boom. So you're always developing your TTPs and kind of playing catch up to what the enemy was doing.
Right.
It was interesting from that's a really poor choice of words, but from that aspect. And we wound up actually leaving the Baghdad area, went out to the Al Anbar province, and that brought us a little bit of fresh air. But I kind of need to talk about how we left the western Baghdad area. And
how long had you been in country?
About 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it was about half our deployment. And like I said, we were welcomed by that 10th Mountain Unit that was so eager to go home. so eager to share with us what they had learned, and treated us very well. Looked at us as peers, as a National Guard unit, and I always respect them for that. I feel that them being so knowledgeable, being through so much, and so eager to pass on what they learned, saved some of our lives, and they had very little ego. They really did. They were a good bunch of people who just simply wanted to see us succeed. They had a lot of success with a lot of heartache, and they wanted to see us have the same amount of success, if not more, with less heartache. And that's what ended up happening, and I got to pat them on the back for it. But we were leaving the Baghdad area. We got a order to go out to Al-Anbar province, the western part of Iraq, and between Ramadi and Fallujah,
which was very, very hot. If
very,
I'm not
very hot, but I don't mean to string this out too far, but I'll get into that. Leaving Baghdad, we had a unit come from the 101st Airborne to replace us. I love our servicemen. I love our military people. I really do. These guys are clowns, and not because their unit's clowns, not because they're clowns as individually, but they had just a few people that were poor leaders who had the idea that this is a National Guard unit, we're replacing them, and we are not going to listen to anything that they have to say. And it was very, very detrimental to them. We tried to pass on things that we had learned from the 10th Mountain Unit and other things that we kind of perfected on our own and learned over time, and how to be successful in that environment and living, surviving, reducing casualties in a lick style warfare, low intensity conflict. Yep. A lot of it's about mitigating risk, and it's not doing stupid things and not having bigger balls than you should, and to give you an example. When they came, we're doing again the left seat right ride process. Talk about the RIPTO, or relief from place transfer authority. We're gonna give this battle space over to you. So they start riding with us, and they literally pay little attention to what we're trying to tell them. They had several squad leaders that were, I don't know, I wasn't a fan. They were not the caliber of combat veterans that we've seen in the guys that we had replaced. But these guys also were not. Very few of them were combat veterans yet either. So it was their first tour. We tried to tell them we always patrolled in blackout, night vision. And once we started patrolling as senior leaders with them, we left the ECP, the entry control point, leaving the camp, or leaving Liberty, and they stayed white light. Say, hey, what are we doing here? We need to be blackout. Well, our guys don't have a lot of training driving night vision. I said, okay, I don't know why that is the case. Of course, they were a light infantry unit.
That's active duty. That's the 101st.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have any training under blackout conditions.
Well, you got to remember that was a transition point where your light infantry units never patrolled in Humvees.
Right.
Now all of a sudden they're having to kind of learn what we did as light scout in 2nd ACR.
Sure.
And so I'm not making excuses for them, and I don't know how long they had gun trucks and able to practice and train and do this stuff. But they said, we don't have much experience. My argument to them was this: where are you going to get? You're not going to get that training. I mean, you got to go out and start doing this stuff. So you might as well do it when we're with you, and we can
Sure.
like help guide you and TC these vehicles. And nope. We went out the first night with them. When they rode with us, we're blackout. Once we started riding with them, they're white light. The first night, everything went fine. The second night, we're riding along, and all of a sudden, boom, and shoo, shoo. And yep, we've been shot at. Yes, we've been mortared. We'd had rockets shot at, IED'd. We'd had plenty of very short-lived ticks and troops in contact. We weren't immune to the idea of getting shot at, but immediately realized this is something different. This was an ambush, and I was the lead vehicle. I was in the back seat, so it was their driver, their gunner at the top, their vehicle commander, Randy right in the back left seat, me in the back right seat, and in the truck behind them was Tim McNaught in one of the back seats in the truck behind him in the number 2 truck. The number 2 truck took the IED.
You guys had went past it.
We went past it. We think they were probably trying to target our truck, but they probably the ECM's electronic countermeasures, the Warlock, one of them probably blocked it and kept our truck. It rocked their truck, and then small arms fire and RPGs come at a very, very, high rate of fire, big volume. And one of them, I think it went under our vehicle. I'm not 100% sure. It looked like it was coming right at us, but it went somewhere because it detonated on the right side. On my side, it come from the left side, and then other RPGs and.
I remember you telling me, didn't you see it skip off the road? Like you saw sparks where it skipped.
It skipped, and I don't know, under it, behind us, on over, but very, very close.
Sure.
Multiple RPGs, very, very close to our vehicle. None of them hit it, and I'm telling the gunner, like, he's not doing anything. He's hunkered down, won't do anything. I mean, I don't care if you look. Just turn that turret to the left and start buzzing. It was a canal berm. Start buzzing that berm, And he wouldn't. The vehicle commander of that was a staff sergeant, a counterpart that I'd tried to impart a lot of knowledge on. He was stuck up.
He's 101st. You're National Guard. He don't care. Yeah.
Dude literally completely and utterly froze up. Completely, like not a little bit, like all the way. The gunner, like I'm trying to pull him down out of that monkey harness, but we kept coolers. Like where the gunner can actually sit down instead of sitting on a strap, he can actually sit down and kind of cooler a little bit.
Yep.
Because we kept Gatorades and Rippets and Red Bulls and whatever else.
Sure.
But really healthy stuff for your kidneys.
Yeah.
And
I'm guessing you weren't too worried about it.
No, we didn't care.
Time, yeah.
And he is not returning fire, and he's not coming out of that seat. And I remember looking at Randy Wright as a lot is going on, but we're literally helpless. I mean, the Humvee's driving like 10 mile an hour. They're not actively trying to push through this ambush at any.
So he let off the accelerator. I mean, he's not hitting
it was a shit show.
He just isn't. So the drivers froze, the gunners froze.
The vehicle commander never once got on the radio. The platoon leader, it was in the truck behind us with Tim McNaught, said, Tim's like trying to get, he's like locked up. The only person that returned fire in this was the Mark 19, which I believe was our number 3 vehicle in the convoy.
Which is a 40 millimeter
automatic grenade launcher. And this guy was a prior combat experience. And it's a lot to absorb in your second patrol out. I'm not faulting them for locking up necessarily. It was a lot. I mean, that shouldn't have been their little first piece of combat they ever seen, but it was, and it's because they set themselves up for it. It's the insurgents knew this. Really hard to actively target a combat patrol who's watching you with night vision goggles, and you can't hardly target their patrol. You flip the script, and they're running white lights, so they're not night vision goggles. I mean, maybe their gunners are, but I mean, it's kind of hard to work in a night vision NVG environment where you got a bunch of white light and then no white. I mean, anybody's ever worn knows that doesn't work real well. So, and they're smart enough to know that too. And they seen a perfect opportunity. They seen they're doing it this time. They do it tomorrow night, and we're going to set up something that we've been in that area for 6 months, and they never tried on us. And they tried at night too on these guys. Those guys end up having a fratricide event a week after we left. They lost a soldier to a fratricide event. Lost others shortly after that. We made that entire 6 months and in our company and had several wounded in our company, but no KIAs.
Wow.
And I'm a little bitter just because it didn't have to be. I mean, I can't predict what would have happened if they listened to us. I'm sure still bad things would have happened, but they didn't have to experience what they experienced in the way they experienced it. I promise you, if they just would have opened their minds a little bit, that they would have had a certain degree of less heartache.
Yeah.
And I'm bitter about that. And
Yeah.
and a lot of it just stemmed from National Guard soldier and we're
even though you guys had been in combat for 6 months
successfully. So we took so much hardware out of the ground. We got more caches out of the ground than any other battalion in the 3rd Infantry Division was over there at the time. We were raking in literally tons of hardware and a lot of heavy hitters. We got a lot of bad guys that we were able to capture and take to the brigade internment facility with detainable prosecutable evidence in the Iraqi courts. We were really, really, really successful. Hey, we're just a bunch of nasty girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is coming from a guy that used to call them nasty girls.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Right. Absolutely, and it's funny, I've read things from different books about, Iraq and Afghanistan, that it seems that a lot of the things that I had read from other people, that it depended on the unit, because they said some National Guard units were as good as active duty, and
some are atrocious,
and some were terrible.
And I've seen it. And
that early on, that really surprised me when I was reading that, because I was always under the old mindset that the nasty girl thing, we're active duty, you only got 1 week in the month, but well, there's a whole nother thing. I've really expanded my mind a lot on that, especially, you think if you're a service, I know when I was in the big Army that if we needed something fixed, it may or may not get fixed. You turn the radio into comms, it gets back. It may be the exact same way you just turned it in. Vehicles the same way, versus a lot of reserve units might have guys that are mechanics. They work at a Ford dealership or a Chevy dealership, and then they're also turning wrenches, So, I mean, I know that's not infantry, but I've changed my thinking on it. And talking to guys like you that, that have been there and done it, and it's like, depends on the unit, which I think you can kind of say that about anything.
Yeah, that's it. And you get a pretty good caliber of people that are in the Guard. I mean, they're very trainable people. They just don't have typically as much experience. But these are a lot of them college graduates. They have other skill sets, or police officers, mechanics, firefighters, carpenters, electricians. Yes, and they bring a lot to the table. That's another thing. We were able to get a lot of stuff done in the general, living comfort kind of area that others. We had one guy he knew a lot about stinking internet stuff and satellite stuff. He ordered us. It cost us all, I think, each of us a couple $100, but ordered from Germany this satellite internet system in 2005. Okay,
which has been a while.
We'd never heard of this stuff. Ordered it. He had to take some hop, skip, and a jump over to BIOP to a DHL. I never even heard of DHL at the time. We have now, but to a DHL, shipping center at Baghdad International Airport to pick this thing up when it come into Germany. And we had internet. Nobody else. This is before soldiers had internet that was provided to them by a company that's contracted. We did this on our own.
And this old boy just hooked, yeah.
We were playing Call of Duty over our internet back and forth between our cans, and nobody else in Baghdad was doing that yet.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, okay, so you hand it over. This is about midway through your tour. Now you're moving out west.
Yep, go out to Al Anbar province, and little different. We were a battle space owning unit, but it was small enough that a platoon could cover it. So you would do 2 periods of time, and I think start out as a few days, wound up being weeks, but 2 periods of time, literally pulling guard duty in towers at TQ out to Quadam, and then out patrolling on Route Lyman and Long Island between Ramadi and Fallujah. Really interesting. I won't get too deep into it, but almost no contact whatsoever. We would get, we called it rocket watch. We would literally go on top of the talk and grab a soda or a Red Bull or a near beer in the evenings and wait for the rockets to come. I mean, they're coming in every night. They're going to come in, and we try to figure out where they were coming because you could see, because this place set up on a plateau,
right?
And you could see across MSR, Michigan, and we do rocket watch and watch these things come in. And we originally thought that they were mortars, and we later learned that they were not mortars; they were all rockets.
Now, do you know what kind of, were they like Katusha rockets?
Yeah, like on a sled, like
okay.
Some really crude.
Right.
But we learned this. If it sounds like nobody was shooting mortars, it was rockets. So if it sounds like a mortar, guess what? The rocket motor's done burning. So it's falling, and it's going to be close.
Okay. Where's our radar? Because as an FO in the 509th, when we're going against the Blue 4, that
Q-36,
the Q-36 radar, man, we got
right.
cued all the time, and I'm thinking, we couldn't, anything we would call in, we're getting cued, and counter battery fire is coming back on us. Did they? I mean,
the Q-36 in Baghdad areas. I mean, not the Q, not like there's one. Hell, I don't know how many of them there were.
Right.
But that was. That was definitely a factor for them, but they're really good. They know they're literally shooting a handful of munitions. Use like 3, boom, 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 and you could pretty much you hear that initial volley go off. You can pick yourself, you hit the dirt, pick yourself up, and go on about your business because they were done. Because they knew they got to shoot those off, and they need to get out of town because counter battery would likely be coming fairly quickly, but they're gone. I mean, even though you have a counter battery radar and very, very accurate and quickly adjustable. I'm not an FO, but I mean, those guys are good, but it's minutes. It's not seconds.
Right.
Yeah. And so they knew to shoot and get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
So we had very little trouble the first several weeks. Made friends with. I'm not going to go into too much detail. There's a lot that went into this, and we handled a lot of business. We almost had zero trouble until we started putting 2 to 2 together, and that was that some of the more friendly folks to us. I mean, the people who invite you in to have chai, the people that would get and do the hard work to get military money to build schools and wells and different projects. What we seen this school that was built. And it was something that at the time we probably could have built for $25,000 in the United States. And it was a $200,000 project. We knew something was fishy. We started digging. And I don't want to say this guy's name, Iraqi local national, but we started. I mean, we were friends with him. Like we go to his place and eat and drink chai and whatever else, and he was telling us who the bad guys were and all this stuff. Well, we got a little fishy, and back in that time, you had people had MP3 recorders, players. Some of my soldiers had them, and we thought, hey, you know what? Let's go visit him. Let's talk about some stuff, see what he'll tell us, and slide one of those in a vent or under a couch. We'll come back a couple of days later, pick it up, and have our interpreter listen to it. We did a lot of that. We had a crap ton of success. I mean, this is just hillbilly stuff. We got this little thing that'll record something. Let's stick it in there. And we figured out who was who and what was what. And once they knew that we knew, we started getting hit left and right. They were not hitting us because he was a financier. He was being nice to get money, hundreds of thousands of dollars of these infrastructure projects, because this guy's the local go-to, and he built that project for pennies on a dollar, and the rest of it to go to fund the insurgency, and we figured it out, and we started getting hammered. Very, very crooked crap.
Did he ever get taken down?
When we left, he is still alive.
Okay.
And I don't believe maybe operational like he was before. Someday I'll tell you a story about him.
Fair enough. So you finish up your rest of your time. Now, is that the rest of your time was split?
Yeah, we wrap it up there. That was it. We wind up getting replaced and moved out of there in April of 06 and coming back home.
So did you fly from how did that flight go?
That went TQ.
What's TQ?
Altaquatum.
Okay.
Sorry. Yep. And
which is a town. I'm guessing.
It's a base. It's a okay. Marine Corps air base.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where you fly out of.
Yep. To I don't even think we went. I hate to tell Josh, but can't remember. I don't think we even went back to. I think we flew straight from there to Kuwait. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But Kuwait for a while, days, week or so.
Okay.
And then back to Fort Stewart, Georgia.
So you land in Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Yep.
Anybody waiting on you or?
No. So you got out process. I want to tell a quick little TQ story, and this is kind of weird. Nobody, some people wouldn't believe that some infantry National Guard sergeant pulled this off, but we had a period of time where we weren't doing anything. It like we were off patrols. We had plenty of people covering tower duties, and I mean it was just an excess of people, which is not typical. I told my company commander, I said, "Hey, my brother-in-law's in Baghdad. I said I'd like to go see him." He's like, "Well, how in the heck are you gonna do that?" I'm like, "Well, I figured I'd go to the airfield and see if I could catch a helicopter." He said, "Well, do you know where it goes?" I'm like, "I don't have a clue, but I mean, I gotta be able to get there somehow." He said, "Well, yeah, I agree." He said, "How long are you gonna be gone?" I'm like, "I don't know." I said, "I like spend a day with him." He said, "Oh."
And you knew where he was.
I knew where he was.
Okay.
Yes, I had no communication with him. I mean, other than you could email, or I could get on the phone and call home, and then
they would tell you
my sister could call back to him.
Yeah.
And but I don't even think I thought that much through. He's like, "Oh, okay." So I go to the airfield, figure out when he's flying out next. It was called Catfish Air. That was the name of the.
Okay.
Seriously, it was a Black Hawk, Black Hawk unit, but it's called Catfish Air. And maybe it's their call sign or something,
Right.
And they said, "Oh, we got a flight coming out at such and such time." So I go back, pack up a little bag, and go back there and wait on this Black Hawk. And going there, it took me basically a day and a half of hopping flights to different places. Wound up in what's a big one, Anaconda, and then back to Baghdad and a couple places. Like we flew into the Green Zone and wound up at his little camp. He had a little camp somewhere in the Baghdad area. I can't remember the name, but it wasn't like Liberty. It wasn't any of the Liberty Victory or the Green Zone comp. It was none of that. It was a lot smaller place. Flew into there, asked a few questions, figured out where his unit was, and he was out on patrol. He was out for 3 or 4 hours, come back, and there I was. And so we hung out that night and all the next day, and watched movies. I remember we watched Ralphie May. We watched Ralphie May, the big comedian, forever. Got mortared. Our camp got mortared. We got rattled pretty good. So he and I saw, here's some more air quotes. We got combat together, right?
Yeah.
And, which he'd been pretty busy in his deployment too.
Sure.
And caught a bird going out. I made it back like that day going back. So I think I was gone total like pushing 4 days.
That's crazy.
By myself,
though.
just left.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That's wild.
Yep. True story.
Yeah. So you make it back.
Yep.
And then you guys are rolling out. And you're coming. Well, now, okay, hold on. Bob's Lakeside Jihad Hotel.
Oh, man.
We've got to get into that because I'm for anybody that's listening to this, you have to go on. I think it's on Apple iTunes. I know it's on YouTube. If you look up Matt Poss, which is a local country music artist
who just cutting another album,
which I'm going to tell you something. And we're kind of sidetracking here, but I saw him at the Cowden Pioneer Days years ago, and when I saw him, I said, that guy is going to be big.
He's gifted.
It was the stage performance. The music was solid. I mean, I'm like, this guy is going to be huge. I thought, I can't believe he hasn't blown up. But anyway, they have a song, the Matt Poss Band, called Bob's Lakeside Jihad Hotel. And there is one person mentioned in that song, and his name is Sergeant Sarver, who I'm talking to right now. So, I've teased you a lot through the years. Man, hey, when they're writing country music songs about you, you did something. I mean, that's when it's like, hey, that's about the time Sergeant Sarver rolled up. So we've got to get into that. Do you mind?
I don't mind. I don't mind a bit. It's just you gotta talk a lot and tell. You gotta set up the scene for people to understand.
This was an area, I think you told me before, that was like a vacation spot for Iraqis. It's a lake.
Yep, Lake Habbaniyah. Right outside of Camp Tequatum was the Habbaniyah Tourism Village, and another place called Trailer Town. And what it was a resort that one of Iraq's sons had built, and there's a big nightclub, discotheque off to the side of this thing. It was, you could tell at one point in time, it was beautiful as a resort. But what it was at the time was a place for Fallujah refugees that come out of Fallujah during the offensive and to have a place to stay. There were still employees that worked in the gate in the hotel. So it was a big hotel along with smaller houses, which were probably like when this resort was up in probably like private like if you're freaking Cancun and you got the big resort and you got the smaller tiki,
sure.
So people were living. The resort was pretty dilapidated, but all these little bitty houses, cabins, if you will, or what? I mean, they had people living in them. They were Fallujah refugees, but it was a gated community. I mean, it was people from the Ministry of Tourism still functional in Iraq that guarded these gates, and then people that still kind of worked the grounds off in, they called it trailer town. It was literally trailers. I had never seen trailers in my life anywhere in Iraq, but these were trailers like you would see in Redneckville.
Okay, like we have around here.
Yes, and it was like a circle and trailers all the way around it. And that's where the one guy I was telling you about earlier lived too. But these people, some of them were employed by the Ministry of Tourism. Some of them we never could figure out what they were, who they were. But the song, kind of to set this up, the song is not necessarily a true story. It's not. It has so many bits and pieces of several true stories in it. I think, and if Matt were here, and I could probably call Matt up right now and ask him, but Matt would probably tell you, well, I heard a bunch of stories you guys were telling me, when you come back home, and I made a song. So,
sure,
it's bits and
he
pieces
took artistic license,
sure.
And yeah.
But my roommate, Randy Clapham, he patrolled one 12-hour shift. I patrolled another. So he's out on patrol. Their patrol gets hit by an IED in this tourism village along Lake Habbaniyah. They recovered a vehicle, brought EOD in, and found another IED, blew it in place, and wrapped up their 12-hour patrol, come back and told us and said, hey, just so you know, this is what happened last night. They had some information that somebody might be able to help us out with information on who placed this IED, who detonated it. And the direction that took us was to the guy who worked for the Ministry of Tourism, who was worked in the hotel at Habbaniyah Tourism Village. So we went to talk to this guy, and he's Slick Willie. He's always feeding us stuff. Half of it is probably BS, but he was quote unquote our friend.
Was that 12-Finger Wazzy in the song?
That's 12-Finger Wazzy. So we talked to 12-Finger Wazzy, and oh yeah, I know who's seen him. I take you to them. So we're following him. He's leading our Humvee, which is kind of ballsy.
Yeah.
They're, in that time frame,
sure.
I take you. And then so we're following him in our 4-gun trucks.
And you kind of trust him.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of.
A little.
Right. Yeah. And the IED that the patrol found the night before was Russian 122 artillery shells, the one that they got hit by and the ones they dug out of. And they were in these great big planters. Imagine a light pole that was along a coastal road around this lake. And Lake Habbaniyah is so big you can't see it. It's almost like our Great Lakes. It's like
it's
you can't
big.
see across it. Right, it's huge, and maybe not like our Great, but it's
like Lake Carlisle or something.
I mean, way bigger. It's way bigger than Lake Chubba, Lake Carlisle.
Okay.
Way bigger. I mean, you cannot see across it.
Okay,
and they're light poles with these great big planters, probably 4 feet across. They I'm sure used to have very decorative flowers and things in it. Well, it's empty now. We just had dirt in them. Well, they put them in there, and so we're following this guy, and all of a sudden, boom, on his right in one of those planters, right to the left of his vehicle. And I thought to myself, it's funny how you think kind of like slow motion, like he's dead. Mm-hmm. I look out, and normally this bay area of this lake is full of fishermen from Al Angul and Al Medjir, 2 little fishing villages full of fishermen terrorists. I mean, it's just not good, not good people.
Right,
Insurgents and fishermen, and sometimes they're both.
It's a rough area.
Right. And it's usually full of fishermen. There's one boat, and understand. So the night before, the stuff they pulled was detonated by a long-range cordless space station, which told us that somebody did that from a little further away than what they went to, like a handheld. The long-range cordless space stations would be something they would use for a long-distance line of sight, like somebody quite a ways out, line of sight in the bay. This fishing boat is frantically trying to get the little motor started in the back, and there's like 5 dudes on this fishing boat who are trying to it looked like it's a long ways away. It's probably 1,000 meters away.
Okay.
But they're frantic. And in my mind, it's like, that's them. And I believe it today that was them.
Right.
So my gunner, his bell's rung. Our window's cracked. Our Humvee is damaged. I mean, it's a pretty significant explosion. We're all kind of bell rung. But I said, I'm like, that's them. I'm like, shift right, engage the boat. He's like, eh? I'm like, shift right, engage the boat.
Because he's rattled.
He's rattled.
Yeah.
And I kept my M16 mags front loaded with tracers. So I kicked my door, and I didn't want to kick my door open very bad because I didn't know if it was secondary or something. So I kicked my Humvee door out there and placed my M4 there, aimed really good, shooting at 1,000 meters with an M4, super accurate. Yeah. And so for people who don't know, really, I'm lying. I mean, it's you hope you get your bullet there, but
right.
And I cut loose with my front loaded tracers, and we were so frustrated that we really messed up because the entire 4-gun patrol, every gun shifts right and engages that boat. My driver gets out, spins a mag. I shoot a few rounds, and then I'm on the horn talking battalion, trying to get some aviation assets there.
Sure.
It's just I mean, just
they're rocking,
just rocking. And my driver unloads a mag with his M4 at 1,000 meters and roughly, or who knows, I mean, a long ways away.
Right.
And then grabs his video recorder, sets it on the hood, reloads his gun, starts shooting again. We shot a lot of ammo, and I think you've seen the video. It's seen all the brass around there. It didn't work out well for the guys in the boat. 240s have a lot better range than an M4, but
right, and a lot bigger round.
Yeah, a lot bigger round. So that was the Bob's Lakeside Jihad Hotel.
That's your version of the Bob's Lakeside Jihad.
And it's not really like the song. Like I said, it's just bits of. But there's other parts of that song that are other pieces of other stories.
Well, I at least wanted to get, you were there. You're mentioned in the song, and again, everybody should go listen to it because it's a very well done. The song's well done.
It's comedy.
It's kind of off the Charlie Daniels Uneasy Rider, and he did a great job. But I wanted to make sure we got into that. So we were wrapping up the end. You're flying out. You land in Fort Gordon, Georgia.
Fort Stewart.
Or Fort Stewart, Georgia. You come home.
Yeah, we out process. We come home.
How long were you in? Were you in a combat area to where you were back in Central Illinois?
I could probably go home and look at my diary, but 5 to 8 days, somewhere in there.
This is something I had talked with Dad numerous times about. The Army does a good job of training you up. They don't do such a good job of training you down.
Yeah.
So now
they're better than they used to be, but
I know they're working on that. So now you're home. You're driving down the road. Are you seeing IEDs everywhere? I had a buddy that was over there, and he said he'd see a piece of trash or like a lump on the side of the road, and he'd be like, "Oh man, be careful." And then you catch yourself. Well, hey, You
are hypersensitive to a lot of things. trash on the road, a dead deer on the road. I mean, we had IEDs that we found in dead animals,
Sure.
and trash heaps, dug in. I mean, so you're hyper. You drive way out of the way to a piece of a McDonald's bag on the side of the road. I wasn't. Everybody's wired differently.
Sure.
I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but I do believe that PTSD is an absolute real thing, and I know people suffer from it in varying degrees, but it's also overplayed, it's overdiagnosed, and again, I'm not trying to take away from
Sure.
Anybody's struggles they're going through.
Right.
I sleep fairly peacefully at night. And didn't have an immense amount of struggles coming home. I don't say struggle free, but not an immense amount of struggles coming home. But again, I didn't storm the beaches of Normandy either. I mean, so my experiences are different than other people's experiences.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I said this on my first podcast, and this is only my second one. What amazes me is the men that I know that have done the real thing, how many guys, especially, I think it was more common in the old days, will go out of their way to say what you did. My dad will say the same thing. My Uncle Homer had been through the Italian campaigns in World War II, went through Anzio. I'd heard he was at Anzio, and I'm freaking out. He's like, no, I was there after. He made sure I wasn't at the invasion. I was there, It just, I find that compelling, that how many men will try to, not to downplay it, but just, I mean, you were in, obviously, these stories, you were in a lot of, hairy situations, but I don't know, to me, that's a testament, but, so you're back home.
Back home, getting ready to go through a divorce, which I knew that up front. I knew that a couple of months into my deployment. Don't need to get into that.
Sure.
I was blessed with one of the finest human beings that I've ever known, being my son Jarrett, because of that. And but something had to be done.
Okay, so you get home. Now you're going through
divorce. And I meet my wife now. The day that I walk off of the bus at Effingham, Illinois. So,
and you'd never met her before?
Never met her before. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I'll tell the story. So, as you can only imagine, I'll tell the story.
Hey, that's what we're here for.
We bus from I think we flew into, heck, Josh, I don't even remember where we flew into, but we bussed from where, I think it was Champaign.
Okay.
That we flew into Willard. Got on buses, went to the Effingham High School parade field or football field.
Okay.
I'd already had one of my soldiers, Tommy Wallen. He knew I was getting divorced, and he basically said, "Hey, you ought to meet my cousin. She's good looking." I'm like, "Well, Tommy, I'm not looking for anything." Well, she just, she's going to school and she's got the summer off. She's not looking for anything either, but, she's a lot of fun, hang out and, go to dinner, drink a beer or something,
Sure.
And she's super cool, love her to death. And okay, Tommy, maybe. Appreciate you thinking about me. He's looking out for me, looking out for her cousin. He wasn't trying to match make, just,
right, yeah.
And so I get off, I walk up, and there's Jarrett, who is 6 years old, and showing me how he can curl a pencil in his lip, and just so excited I'm home.
Yeah, I bet.
And I'm so excited to see him too. I mean, you can't imagine.
Yeah, I can't.
But Tommy's wife, Tommy's not wife, Tommy's mom, comes up, gives me a big old hug. Thanks for bringing Tommy home, and which I didn't bring Tommy home. Tommy brought himself home. He did a fine job. But there's Lindsay. It was his first cousin.
Sure.
I swear to you today, she had a sundress on.
Those are cool.
I love them. I swear to you, she had a sundress.
Those are just cool.
Yeah, she was wearing slacks and a Cracker Barrel apron. That's what she says.
Yeah,
she said no. Yeah. She said,
you saw
I got
her
a lunch break.
Okay.
I saw her in a sundress. I'm dead serious. Sundress.
No kidding.
Yeah. And she's going putting herself through school at Eastern. And she said, no, I was in my Cracker Barrel uniform. I'm like, no, you wasn't.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seen her in a sundress. And so that was that.
The first time you met her.
First time I met her. Wound up, we went out for drinks and went to watch Matt Poss.
Ah, okay.
That was our first date.
Right.
We went to Whiskey Wild and watched Matt Poss.
I'll be darned.
And it kind of went from there. I had zero intentions of seriously dating anybody or getting remarried. None at all. No, zero. But she was truly an incredible person, and
here you are.
Here I am. Yeah.
All these years later.
A lot went into that. But we got married a little over 2 years later, knowing that I was going to deploy to Iraq. Got married in June of 2008, knowing that I was leaving for training to deploy in August of 2008.
To go to Afghanistan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, now, you're training up for Afghanistan. You know you're going.
Yep.
Let's talk about that.
It's not what I wanted. We had a really, really good deployment to Iraq. We was
a year.
A year. Yep. And we knew that we were in Iraq. We were an operational company, an infantry company with owning battle space and doing full spectrum operations. Then all of a sudden, our whole brigade is going, and the 33rd Brigade Combat Team is going. A few thousand, couple thousand, 3,000, 4,000 soldiers, and with all different kinds of jobs. And primarily in combat advisory roles as PMTs, police mentor teams, and I can't remember what the Army combat advisor team was called, but MIT or maybe, but either way, it doesn't matter. It's combat advisors. You're not going to be with your platoon integrity. I was a platoon sergeant. I was an E7 at the time. And so I didn't like that part. I was hoping to go with, like I told you, that counter-narcotics infantry, Kandak, a lot of guys that I knew down in Helmand. They needed an E8. They needed a master sergeant to run a combat advisory unit in Wardak province. I kind of got voluntold to do that. I did not want to do that. Wound up with an OIC in that team, a guy named Jeff Camp. Awesome guy. I liked him at the time, but now I fantastic individual. A great leader. He's got at least, I think he's got 2 books out, but I know one of them, if you get a chance, it's called Is Goat Beef?
Is Goat Beef.
Is Goat Beef.
All right, I got to write that down.
It's a really cool book. It's a cookbook. And intersprinkled in that cookbook are military stories, and I'm in the book. There's plenty of our Afghan stories there. It's not a combat intense book, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it got its name because we worked with some of our Afghan counterparts, and they wanted to throw us a party, and they wanted to butcher a goat, and so that's what we did. We bought a goat, and They butchered it, hung it up, cut the throat, whole bit, and they made a dish, and some of our guys tried to grill parts of this goat. I wound up with a case of. Remember what I talked about in Ranger School?
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember this young boy's name. Boy, I shouldn't say that. Young soldier's name. I about said Pritzker. Let's not.
I guarantee he wasn't there.
He wasn't.
Or any of his family. Yeah, that's a safe bet.
God, I cannot believe anyway, he come up to us and he's got this bowl of like goat and rice, and he looks at us and says, "Is goat beef?"
No, it's not. But
yeah. So wound up with a great group of guys, and Jeff Camp, outstanding leader. I'd never seen an officer love his people so much as Jeff. Become very close to him, and really fortunate for his 9-month deployment that I spent with him. But
well, now is that you've shown me pictures before? I know where you were doing the retinal.
Yeah.
Scan that's you were doing that there, correct?
Yeah, we
which to me that was that blew me away when you were showing me that one night. I'm like, man, that to me, and there again, people think National Guard, you're not going to be doing. To me, that seemed pretty high speed. Now I might be wrong on that, but
we worked hand in hand with an SFA team,
which is a Special Forces A team, which is tip of the spear elite unit.
People have to kind of understand what happened after September 11th. Your special forces units were doing a lot of your combat advising, whether it's in small unit tactics or counter narcotics, or they did a lot of stuff in South America, but they didn't do like a special forces A team wasn't doing maybe as much direct action stuff, but post 9/11. They needed those guys. Are very well capable, very well, trained to do those types of operations. So they started doing more direct action stuff, and your reserve component, your National Guard guys, had to come in and fill that combat advisory role that they may have, because there's a when you occupy a country and try to teach them your ways, it takes a lot of there's a lot of advisory operations that takes place, and it just your SF component couldn't take care of that. So
sure.
we filled that gap, but the SF guys liked us because Afghanistan had a constitution, and you can't use the military to just go conduct a raid and get a bad guy. Now, I'm sure there are certain levels of HVTs that
high value
targets that could have been targeted by, your higher level, your Delta, SEAL Team 6, other entities of SOCOM, use the SOC folks that would able to go and target those bad guys, if you will, without an Afghan face on it. But we weren't able to do that, nor were your typical special forces units able to just go conduct raids to get HVTs without an Afghan face.
Right.
So, hey, we have this police mentor team here that has a bunch of cops who can be that Afghan face. So we developed a great relationship with our A team that was in a compound. We kind of shared it. So it was a joint compound, if you will. It was our compound, a little area, and then theirs on the other side of it, and then there's the rest of the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't very successful because the Afghan police were very dirty. They just, it is what it is. So we developed the first, the first SWAT team, the Afghan National Police SWAT team, and that took a lot of work to vet these people. And we set up our interpreters. We had a series of questions we'd ask them. We put them all through that system you're talking about. It's a bat hide system. I'm sure there's other people call it other things, or there are newer versions, but we call it the bat hide system.
And that's a retinal.
That's a retinal scanner. Some of them were already in it. Some of them have been stopped by people that had that, and they put in their information. So we check them in that, and then also put their information in there, and vet. We vetted literally, a couple hundred Afghan cops to come up with 15 that we thought we could trust, and our operations become very much more successful after that. As pretty cool times.
How often did you take fire there? I mean, was it?
It was different. More small arms fire in Afghanistan, less IEDs. We did run into both, but it overall less combat engagements in Afghanistan, but the ones we did have were a little more intensive. Okay. When it come to direct fire.
Right, yeah.
But right. It was Wardak province. It was, one of the not nicer provinces, but definitely ones like, Helmand that were worse.
Right.
So it was, we weren't kicking back eating Oreos every day, but it wasn't storming the beaches of Normandy.
Sure. So you finish your time up there?
Yep, finished my time up there. I kind of want to tell a story, and those of you that have served will understand how cocky we can be. And we talked about that a little bit. We're the best. What I do is the best. We're the coolest.
Absolutely.
We're the toughest, the meanest, the most deadliest, the most important, and the world would fall apart without us.
Right.
And you think that way for a certain amount at the beginning of your military career, and then you reach a level of maturity, of operational maturity, if you will, that you realize that it takes a whole lot of stuff to make this big old world turn around. And I don't want to say it's when I first started to think this way, but it was because it's not. I wasn't this immature as a senior NCO, but I mean, it was a point that really drove it home. We lived... I was on FOB Airborne, and some of you folks out there, if you're listening and you've been on FOB Airborne before, if you were there after 2009, you'll say, oh, the place is huge. Well, it was not huge at the beginning of 2008. There was Infantry Company Plus, so company and a platoon of engineers, an ODA team, our combat advisor team, and... I don't know how UFO or how your field artillery guys were, but a couple of guns, field artillery guns. So, I mean, a platoon or a...
so you're talking less than 200 men and a couple guns?
About 200 folks.
Okay.
There was a porta-potty contract. There was one shower that, like a shower house that had a couple shower heads and never any hot water. No hard toilets. It was not much of a chow hall, most of it cooked out of MKT, and it was rough, much rougher living than I had in Iraq. Sorry, guys, nothing like the rough living you guys had out there in them combat outposts. It was not like that.
Right.
And so I'm not trying to draw similarities of, my poor tough life, but it was not what I had. Living in Iraq was easy. The patrolling was rough, but the time back home, we were back in the camp. And
when you made it back to base,
it was sweet. But we wanted, and we called it an LSS. Maybe somebody help me out. I don't know. We latrine, shower, shitter, lavatory. I don't know, but it was had a couple washers, a couple dryers in one side, then like a couple sinks, a urinal, a couple bathroom stalls, and we didn't have one of those. We wanted one of those in our compound. We'd asked to get it. We explained that we thought we could get water electricity, all this stuff to it, and kept getting denied all the way to, I believe Jeff Camp talked to a one-star general, our BCT, 48th BCT commander.
Oh, wow.
Oh, don't just too many rules, too many. We found that this place was built on an old Afghan army base, and there was an old wellhead, a well with, and it looked viable. We needed a pump. We needed a pipe. We needed some electrical wire, some conduit, some fittings. And I know this seems like an immense task, but active duty Army would have never got this done.
Yep.
Guard guys with so many skill sets, like, we can do this. We had an abandoned fuel barrel that had diesel fuel in it. We brought our Afghan police up, tapped that barrel, gave them the diesel fuel, emptied it. I won't talk about how we got the money to get an Afghan with a track hoe to dig a hole. We used that barrel, 500-gallon or 1,000-gallon barrel, as a septic tank, piggybacked off of the contract to suck out the porta potties,
right?
To suck that out once a week or once every couple of weeks or whatever, or whenever we could get them and say, here's $20 and stick it in there and suck it out a little bit. Use that, got that buried, and then we went to Kabul for some maintenance, which is a couple hours away, and go see the Air Force guy, the guy that can get you certain stuff.
Sure.
And we said, we need pipe, inch pipe, some 4-inch drain pipe, fit all this stuff. And so we're given this laundry list of things. And he said, well, what are you doing? We said, well, we're trying to put an LSS in, but he said, what do you mean, but? I said, well, I mean, it's kind of a cobbled up job. He said, well, what kind of LSS you putting in? Like, what do you mean, what kind? He said, well, it just depends, because, some of them hook up on this side and drain on this side. Like, he's giving us all this stuff. Like, well, we don't even know because we don't have an LSS. He's like, what do you mean you don't have one? This is an Air Force E4.
An airman.
Airman, senior airman.
Senior airman.
Right. He said, what do you mean you don't have an LSS? I said, well, we don't have one yet. We're trying to get one. He said, well, I got one. And remember, we scoured the whole Army for one of these. He said, well, I got one. I said, well, yeah, but, well, man, who do we got to talk to get it? He said, you're talking to him. And I'm like, you're an E4. We talked to a general, and you're an E4.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you can get this done for us.
Yeah. And I shouldn't say we talked to a general. I mean, I think Jeff Camp talked to like everybody and their brother. He is a very resourceful individual. Captain Ward, too.
They did what they could.
Oh, man. I mean,
through official channels.
I guarantee you, way higher than an Air Force E4.
Right.
It's told no.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. He said, I got one. I said, well, what do we got to do to get it? He said, where's it going? And I said, well, out the FOB Airborne in Wardak Province. He says, oh, man. He said, that's really our only problem. I said, what do you mean only problem? He said, I got Afghan locals will put this on a flatbed and then they'll take it out there. He said, I'll have that along with a lift truck, the crane. He said, I'll arrange all. He said, but he said, they won't go out there without a combat escort. Like, well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of
that's what we do.
We could be that real easy.
Yeah.
How do you think we got here?
Yeah.
And he said, so you guys, you could come back to escort them in? I'm like, absolutely.
Heck yeah.
When can you have this? He said, next Saturday. And I normally would remember what day was, but it was a Saturday. He said next Saturday. He said, I'll have this stuff lined up ready to go. And he did.
Isn't that something?
And he changed our life. You wouldn't believe how much a shower wash machine changed our life. All from an Air Force E4. And that was like, okay, Mr. Think You're Gunslinger Infantryman, nobody's cool but you, which by that time I didn't really have that mentality, but I definitely had that mentality before.
Right.
But you talk about humbled.
Yes.
Like that guy changed the life of a 24, 25 man combat team, changed the rest of their deployment.
And he probably never knew how much that meant to you.
I tried to express all I could, but I didn't get to take a shower before I told him. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. You thanked him at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is.
I'll remember that guy forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Little odd things like that.
Yeah.
So, you come back from your second deployment then.
Yep.
You hit Afghanistan, you hit Iraq, you come back. At this point, you had how many years military service?
Oh, I come back in 09, joined in 93, so what, 16 years?
So you had 16 years in.
Yeah. I was an E7.
Now, what schools? I know you'd been to Airborne, you'd been to Ranger.
So I went to Airborne and Ranger school on active duty, and then in the Guard I got the opportunity. Before I deployed to Afghanistan, I went to Pathfinder school.
Pathfinder.
And then when I got back from Afghanistan, I went to Air Assault school and Army Mountain Warfare school.
All right.
So that's kind of your badge schools, if you will.
Those are the cool schools, as they say. I know Ranger was the hardest.
Yeah.
Was there any that was tougher than you thought it was going to be? Maybe surprised you, or was everything about what you thought?
Mountain Warfare school was they all had their own separate, distinct challenges, but I already knew that. I was told that the Pathfinder schools was terribly hard, but like I told you before,
I've heard that before.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I mean, there's nothing physically hard about Pathfinder school. I mean, it's pretty gentleman's course. It's very, very laid back. But I was told, you got to learn all, so much stuff to memorize. But this is kind of knowledge that I get. If I like it, I'm going to learn it. I'm going to understand. I'm going to pick up on it real quick. What really got people was you get shoved all this information, and then you're going to have a test. And if you fail that test, then you're going to have an opportunity to retest like the next day. But guess what else is the next day? Also another test on the other stuff you're supposed to be learning. So you're trying to study for your second attempt on that test, and also
you've got another
test. And man, once you're taking a second attempt on something, you're struggling.
Right.
I didn't have that trouble. Had a great study partner. Literally, we get done with school, we get done with class. I go grab me a 6-pack and some some dinner of some sort. He and I meet back. Go to the gym, work out, and go for a run. 7, 8 o'clock at night, we meet up. He was a TAC P, and
okay, yeah,
yep, smart guy. And we'd study a couple hours. We drink that 6-pack, drink 2 or 3 beers apiece. We'd study, and by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at latest, we're in bed. And I mean, you're either going to get it or you're not. So we had a really good system, work well for us. Air Assault School, I went to that after Pathfinder school, and probably the most difficult thing in Air Assault school will be your sling load operations. And I thought, I was kind of cocky. I thought, well, that's going to be too easy, because it's not it's no different, if not easier stuff than you've already learned in Pathfinder school. And I failed the A22 cargo bag in sling load operations.
Really?
And had to retest. I'm sitting there with a friend of mine, Greg Settles, who failed another. I don't remember which freaking water buffalo or Humvee on it, but
Right.
mine was a cargo bag.
Right.
He failed something too, and he's in a retest. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to fail air assault school on I just, past few years ago.
Airborne, Ranger, Pathfinder, yeah.
But I got it on my second attempt. Mountain Warfare School's in Jericho, Vermont. It's a school that not many people get to go to. It's a really good school. But so many knots, lowering systems, hauling systems, a lot of rope work, and it's fairly physically exhausting too.
Right.
I mean, a lot of walking, climbing, scrambling, and I went in the winter. There's 2 phases, but it was.
It's the real deal. Then.
It's a great school and a ton of knots. You think Ranger School's got a lot of knots?
Right.
No, more knots.
Really?
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
So you've done a lot at this point. You've done a lot. I mean, you've hit some of the toughest schools the Army has to offer.
Kind of all by chance. I mean, really. I mean,
you've done a deployment in Iraq. You've done a deployment in Afghanistan. You've been decorated both places. I think you got a Bronze Star in Iraq and you got one in Afghanistan.
Yep.
Let's talk. Okay, and so you're coming home and you're still working for the Department of Corrections.
Yeah.
All right. At this point, you'd kind of glossed over earlier. You had made S.O.R.T, which stands for
Special Operations Response Team.
Okay. So between deployments and all that, you're working for corrections. You're doing S.O.R.T. When did you end up becoming the commander? Because you are, for anybody listening, Zach is the commander for the entire state of Illinois. There are how many adult institutions? I should know this.
27.
27 prisons, adult institutions in the state of Illinois. And you are the commander for S.O.R.T for the entire state. When did that come about?
And it used to be a part-time team. So the operators, which is authorized strength of 24 guys throughout the department, and you got to think it's a very small. We're not that heavy now, but at one point in time we had 10,000 security employees, and now we're probably 7,500, 8,000 security employees in the Illinois Department of Corrections.
And how many inmates?
We're down quite a bit. I think in the 30-some thousand range now.
Okay. I always remember it being like in the 40s.
But. Yeah. We're way under what you.
Right.
But there are about 10% of our security employees are on our facility tactical units. So if we're at 8,000, let's say there's 800, and that's going to be fairly accurate right now today. And so those 24 TRT members, kind of the pinnacle of S.O.R.T, if you will, are selected from those, are selected from the 800 volunteer tactical unit members of the 8,000 security employees, your correctional officers, sergeants, lieutenants. So it's not an easy thing to become a part of that team, but it was, even though when you did make it, when I made it in 2004, it was a part-time team. So you would do your correctional officer, sergeant, or lieutenant job that you normally had at whatever prison you worked in, and you'd just be called out for your special operations duties, whether that involved operational stuff, or we did a lot of teaching, instructing, range master stuff. I mean, you may be gone from your facility for a day, a week. There's times I wouldn't set foot in the prison I worked at for 2 months.
Right.
Sometimes I'd work in my prison for 2 months and I wouldn't be called out. It just depends. But I promoted to lieutenant in 2014, and shortly after that, I believe it was August of 14, I was asked to be the regional commander over the central third of the state, and that at the time we were still a part-time team, but our commander and regional commanders were full-time folks. and so I took that position and accepted that. And about 2 years later, my boss retired and got the opportunity. It had been 2000. I say 2 years. I just the math. This is some hillbilly math. It's not adding up. 2014 to 19 is not 2 years, but so it was longer than that. 2019, I become the statewide commander. Since then, I've worked hard to I don't want to say broker deals. That sounds bad, but between the administration and union and to where our TRT operators are full-time positions. We just got too busy. There's so much stuff going on. It was just easier for everybody. Our union was very responsive to that idea. They had some things that they needed. We had some things that we needed. It made good sense to the department, and so we've been a full-time unit since.
As it should be.
It should be. And it's kind of one of the, sometimes, not to get into union business, administration business, but a lot of times it's very difficult to come to agreements between those two mindsets. In this case, everybody's looking out for the greater good of the safety of everybody involved, whether that's the public, the employees, or the individuals, the inmates in custody. It made sense to everybody. So it actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah. What amazed me is the level of training that the guys are getting now compared to when I hired in 96. I was on our local tactical unit, and we had TRT. We'll stop right. So whenever I hired in 96, everything was at the institutional level. You had TAC teams, but then you had TRT, you had S.O.R.T. I think they called it S.O.R.T.
Yeah, Corrections Emergency Response Team.
Yeah. And that was kind of what you wanted to work to. And then we had a sniper at Taylorville. And so originally that's
Danny Traylor.
Well, it was Jeff David.
Okay.
When I first hired in, and then Danny Traylor ended up, which he was I
served in Iraq with him.
Yeah,
great guy.
Good guy. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, so and of course you're talking pager days.
Yeah.
I mean,
for real.
Yeah, I mean it's changed so much.
And you were cool if you had a pager.
Oh yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but now. I like the direction it's going. In my mind, tell me if I'm wrong here. Why don't they just make it a job? Because you have to promote. If you get it, then you got to promote and all that. Why can't they just make
it a payroll title?
Yes.
No, I agree with you, and I think the only complication to that, and you'll understand when I say this, is it's very high standards to be on that team.
Correct.
And
it should be.
And you need a place to go. I've had to send guys back to the house that maybe they don't need to be on that team anymore, but they darn sure deserve to have a job. And if they have a different payroll title, you know how some of the union stuff works. Well, where do they go? If they were let's say their title was a special operations specialist, right? I mean,
whatever.
You're just trying to think of a word, right? And they can't be that anymore. Well, then you got to have contract language to say where they can go back to and have a job if they can't do that. Because we don't generally say you're not good enough to be this, so you got to be that. It's just you're not good enough to be in a department, so you're fired. Well, that's not the case with them. We have. I've had really, really squared away guys that had to leave the team.
Could be personal reasons.
It could be personal reasons.
Sure.
It could be that they're now 48 years old and they can't meet our qualification standards. Our shooting standards are very, very high. They can't meet. I mean, so kind of those types of issues.
Could you go back to just like your previously qualified?
You should be able to, and that's kind of what some of that language would look like, but it would just involve it involves some work between administration and the union to get that done.
Right.
I don't say it's impossible,
right,
by any means.
Can you? And I know you can't get into too much operational stuff here, but can you get an overview? What does a S.O.R.T guy do typically?
It's all over the map. It's to me it's the best job you could have in corrections. But talk about the admin, the mundane, the everyday, everything firearms in the department we handle. We own all the guns. By own, I mean inventory, maintain.
Now, do you mean throughout the whole department?
It used to did not be that way.
I'll be darned. So every adult institution that has firearms, you inventory.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And not only inventory, I also manage the small arms repair unit.
Okay.
So I have armors that
right.
Every gun in the state, which is a couple thousand,
sure,
will make their way through a course of a year through my small arms repair unit and be inspected, and repaired or deadlined I've got very good armors. Every cadet gets taught by my guys. Every firearms instructor in a department is trained by my guys. Once you become a correctional officer and you're being recertified in your firearms, you'll be recertified by an institutional firearms instructor. But we manage the firearms instructor program. All executive staff, administrators, investigators, parole agents, they are all trained and recertified by special operations guys. So that training piece is a lot. Our training and operational pinnacle is hostage rescue, so that takes up a lot of our time. We train a lot for hostage rescue operations. That's some of our more routine, special, again, air quotes, operation stuff. High-risk transfers is probably the most common thing. You get some really bad dudes, whether it's somebody that was a staff assaulter, actually, hurt our staff. We'll move them from one prison to maybe a higher level security prison. It could be somebody that needs to go to a court writ who has significant gang ties or hits out on their life. Or I'll give you an example, kind of off the wall, but there was an individual who was a parolee who was let out early, killed a young girl. Her, I don't want to use any names. This is a horrible thing. But a family member was somebody in the law enforcement community, and really they were, I think, concerned about the safety of the inmate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so, not a job we wanted to have to do, but
no,
everybody deserves a day in trial.
Right. Yep.
And so, yeah, we've handled the worst of the worst. Some big name stuff that's been in Illinois Department of Corrections that if they come out of our prisons for anything outside, whether it's medical treatment or another court appearance, we'll handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody escapes, we go find them. Again, like I said, hostage rescues are training and operational pinnacle.
How often hostage? How often?
Twice since I've been on the team. Twice since 2004.
Twice,
yeah. Yep. And countless almost.
Right.
I think the public would be really not that it's because. I'm not trying to say the department is mismanaged or people don't do. I'm not talking bad about anybody. It's just It's prison, and you wouldn't believe how many times it's been really close to something very bad happening.
Well, when you have that many bad guys locked up, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what security steps you take or anything. One of them I know about, the big one. But okay, so you've had a couple of those escapes. I know we've had.
It's actual escapes from our prisons. Seems like about one every other year.
And it's usually somebody that walks off of a work detail, typically.
Yeah,
would
like
you say?
somebody with OPD clearance. Vandalia wasn't that way. I mean, if somebody jumped the fence, but more commonly we have people that leave a work release facility. We
Right.
still treat those as escapes, and
Well, they are. I mean,
they are.
Yeah.
They are. Absolutely, they are. So
That's usually probably wanting to get with a girlfriend or
you got it.
Yeah, yeah.
You got it. So that's, I don't want to say common work, but and then I mean we've had some weird stuff. 2020 was, with COVID and George Floyd and just the whole world was in a state of flux. But my team spent weeks up in Chicago helping ISP out with riot control operations, and I won't get too deep into that, but it was it's just a weird time. It's stuff that we wouldn't have thought we would be doing, but we was happy to help ISB out and
Well, anytime you're doing something different than what everybody else does, sometimes you kind of, it's whether, you're in a Ranger unit, you're airborne. People look, oh, those guys think they're, and in corrections is no different, You hear people ignorantly a lot of times, talk about, S.O.R.T members or this and that. And I can tell you that the few men that I know, I can say this. If I was ever in a situation, which I'm retired now, I'm out, but if I was ever in a situation, I want your guys coming in, because the guys I know are incredibly capable men. No joke. I mean, no joke. And you guys get some I think the average person that works for corrections would be surprised at the level of training that you guys get away from the department.
it is not at all what somebody would think of a typical corrections employee. Just to give, I can tell you a little bit about kind of what we go through. I mean, number one, I talked about the sheer numbers. 8,000 security people. Those are people who's been through the Corrections Academy, and of those, we are recruiting from tactical unit members, which is about 10% of the 8,000. So out of the 8,800 of them will say, I want to be a tactical unit member, and they go to a couple-week tactical unit member course. That's where we teach them how to march. That's where we teach them how to do cell extractions and help out some with some hostage rescue stuff, riot control, taking backyards, and I mean, they do the meat and potatoes of the rough work, and I'm not trying to suggest by the idea that we select from there such a small percentage that these guys don't do amazing things, because they do. They do the meat and potatoes of the rough work in the Illinois Department of Corrections, our facility tactical, that 10%. Good guys, and they go through some of the changes. Talk about what we made. It used to be just you want to be on a TAC team and send you to 40-hour course, and we realized that what they were doing was more specialized than just a 1-week course. We changed that 1-week course to a 2-week course, and raise the standards, increase the amount of things that they're trained on, and it worked out very well. So we're recruiting from that already better trained tactical unit at the facility. With that being said, we need to recognize the fact that, again, there's fantastic people in corrections, but there's also a lot of people that decide they get into corrections and use it as a stepping stone. So a lot of your highest caliber of folks that you'd want to recruit from for these type of operations are already gone. They've went on to do something else. Law enforcement, federal law enforcement, state law enforcement.
Sure.
And again, please, man, I hope I'm not trying to say.
Well, you're not. Anybody that has any reason will know exactly what you're saying, because there are still some great people out there.
Oh, well,
top of the
that's doing
that could do anything if they wanted.
Right. A lot of it's contentment.
Sure, absolutely.
I like what I'm doing.
Yep.
I'm working here. I'm close to home. I got day shift. I'm going to stay right here, make good money, and stay working as a correctional officer. So please understand, what I'm trying to say. But I also need to stress the fact that when you're 24 out of 8,000, it took some work to get there.
Absolutely.
And so basically what happens is when we get short a handful of guys, 3 or 4 guys, I'll send out a memo to be read at all the roll calls in every prison in the state to say what we're looking for. Description of qualifications, and I want them to send us a resume, their DD-214, the outside training, so on and so forth, a handful of documents. Their 201s, which is an employee evaluation from their facility, their weapons qualification sheets, basically a packet of stuff, and we'll do a paper board. We'll look at what they have to send to us, because we can't interview and try out everybody. So we have to have a selection process on paper.
Sure.
We'll have that, and then we'll set up what we call our tryout. And it's just it's a tryout. It's a selection process. It's a day-long selection process that we've invited people that have passed our paper board. And it's a physical agility test. We mix it up every year, but it sucks. I mean, we're not looking for Olympic athletes and American Ninja Warriors, but it's no fun. It's tough.
Right.
And a shooting course, scenarios, and oral interview, and it all happens in a day.
Uh-huh.
And we'll take that and go through all the data. And
once you make your selection and guys are on your team, do they go through any additional training,
Yeah.
or is that something that you guys conduct yourselves?
So we once we select them, they have to be certain things. They have to be a firearm. Once we're going to bring them on a team, if they're not already, we got to send them firearms instructor course, chemical agent instructor course, defensive tactics or control tactics instructor course, train the trainer, just a basic platform skills, or a instructional
Right.
methods course.
So-
There's a
So they do get a lot of additional training.
there's weeks of training that they have to have before they can ever be on this team if they don't have it already.
Okay.
And then once we'll send them. We have a 3-week course, and it's a basic SWAT course, if you will. But it's a lot of pistol work in the first week, rifle work in the second week, and then the third week is tactics. So culminating in, they'll get some live fire shoot house stuff in the final week. If they pass that, we'll bring them on board, and then the final thing that kind of seals the deal for us. We built up a great relationship with FBI Chicago, and they've got a great basic SWAT course. And we get afforded seats every year to that, and so that we'll send that SWAT course up. And
I think a lot of people would be surprised by that.
yeah,
that work for corrections.
they was like, oh, you'll go to that school, and then all of our snipers. We're a dual role team, so our snipers are still entry guys. We don't have the luxury of having enough people. I don't know who's going to show up to any particular event, so I can't have my sniper that shows up, just a guy that can, pull that long gun trigger. He's got to be able to walk through a door, and so, it's
a dual role. You don't have just strictly dedicated, yeah.
Right, and. But our snipers, we have our own sniper program, which I hate to say I'm going to lose my number one guy there, Jason Miles. I love that guy. Weird as crap, and I don't care. He if he hears that, he knows. I mean, he'd laugh. I mean, he is, but he's an awesome guy, super trustworthy, and just. He's a good sniper,
yeah,
and a good instructor.
Yeah,
he's getting ready to retire, and he kind of managed that program. But they go through that sniper program that he put together, and then they'll go to FBI sniper school at the Great Lakes Regional Training Center, and then the advanced sniper school. And
there again, I guarantee the average correctional officer working right now has no clue that that's the level of training these guys are getting.
Yeah,
I mean it's as good as it gets.
Or the amount of training that we go through on a monthly basis and the different things that we just dream up to put ourselves through. But again, we have the leeway to do that. And since we've become a full-time team, it's a lot easier to dream something up and execute that training because they're at our disposal. If I wanted to put together a call out where I'm going to bring the guys in and inspect all our equipment, check their vehicles, their guns, or everything else, give them a briefing, and it's going to take an all-night operations. I mean, that'd have been really hard to – I'm just throwing like dumb stuff out there, but it'd be really hard to coordinate that with their shifts and their schedules and who I had working when and pulled from what facilities at what times when we were not a full-time team.
Right.
And so it's been really, really a blessing.
Let's talk about your work in law enforcement. When did you become a police officer?
2014.
Okay. What? I mean, we're going through all of this stuff that you've done, which is just, I mean, it's pretty impressive, really. And then on top of all of that, well, now maybe I need to be a cop also, part-time, because it wasn't like you were doing enough already.
Well, I always wanted to be a cop. I really did. I mean, that's kind of what I set out. I mean, maybe not just I'm not trying to say, but I told you before I wanted to get into federal law enforcement. That didn't pan out.
Right.
But I mean, heck, I'm a kid. I mean, I watch Cops. I think that's super cool. I still watch it today, or I mean, I like that stuff.
Right.
I'm 48 years old and I still like that stuff. So I was 38 years old.
Right.
And still, like, I felt I had a void. Like, I was doing some really cool things, but I wasn't helping out home. I wasn't helping out the general public near the house. And I felt like I was missing something. And I was talking to Mike Miller, our old Shelby County Sheriff. And I forgot I was on my way to my wife's aunt. I mean, I've already mentioned her in this, but the mom of the cousin that introduced, that whole to their. It was like their, I don't know, 30th anniversary or something like that.
Right.
And I was just eating up some road miles talking to Sheriff Miller, and somehow somebody's like, "Why don't you come to work for me? I need some part-time help." Well, how in the heck would that work, Mike? Well, you go to part-time, and explain that, and it took a lot to convince Lindsay, my wife, that was a good idea. She'll probably tell you today it wasn't a good idea, even though I convinced her it was.
Right.
But I loved it.
So did you start off as auxiliary? Or?
Yeah, not auxiliary. Just, I mean, everything I've done has ever been on a part-time capacity, which the Illinois law, it doesn't look at. There's auxiliary, which doesn't have any law enforcement authority. That law enforcement authority that auxiliary derives their authority from an actual law enforcement officer. So an auxiliary officer don't have any more power than the public, unless they derive that authority with a full-time or with the sworn officer that they're with. Other than that, you have part-time and full-time law enforcement officers in the state of Illinois, but they have no difference in power and authority. It's just hours they work, and used to be in a matter of hours of training that they have, but actually they've changed that now too. So, you go to a part-time academy, which lasts a stinking 9 months, eats up all your weekends and a whole bunch of online work, and it sucks.
Right.
And I don't want to say you don't learn anything. You do. I mean, I had great instructors, and I learned a lot, but it's still not like going to the full-time academy. Right. It's just not. I mean, you're missing certain. It's not ideal,
but it works to get.
But it works.
Zach, hey, thank you for coming in. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I want to do this again. I really enjoyed this. I hope you did too.
It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time. All right. Take care, brother.
See you, Josh.